Okay, hi there. My name is Chris Hebert. I have been sewing for about 50 years, teaching sewing for 30, and I am Rhinestone Genie's Director of Education. What I'm going to show you tonight, I'm going to show you some project, how we use our templates as an applique shape and then bling them up with the rhinestones. All right, so this is one of the items we're going to do. This is an applique. This is actually a cork portfolio. And for those of you watching, and if you purchase tonight, you'll actually get the pattern for this. It's very simple. This is just cork fabric and even a little ped loop here and a little 5x8 pad. Very simple. The template is used as the applique pattern and then the rhinestones on top of it. And that's one of them. Here's another one, different color. Same idea, just a navy cork. I've also done this with some other items. This is actually a tote bag. And you can see I've got a palm tree here. I have a sailboat. On the other side, I have some flamingos. And this is all done with the same technique. And let me show you this one. This is so adorable. We have this adorable unicorn. So I put the unicorn on this little girl's pink t-shirt, and look at the leggings I found. They have hoof prints on them. So you can do some really fun things and even decorate clothing, all sorts of goodies, not just quilts and projects with this technique. I think this is just so cute. All right. So the way we're doing this, let's get this out of the way, is we have our templates. And the templates come in packages. It's a magnet. So you can pop the magnet out of the template outline. And there's the template. There's our unicorn. I'm going to use the anchor tonight. So they are magnets. You need a steel tray and our rhinestones. The rhinestones, I've got lots of them. This is the Aurora Borealis color. It's a new brilliant. It's got lots of different shimmer to it. It shimmers all those different little rainbow colors on it. And I have our swiping pad. So what we're going to do is get as many rhinestones as we can into this. And the more you rub the rhinestones together, the more rhinestones we have, the better they land in the holes, shiny side up, which is glue side down. And then I can swipe away. I've still got some right here, so I'm going to bring a little bit more in there and make these land shiny side up. Let's sweep these away and see what I have. There we go. Let's see, I have one hole right here. I could bring some more in, but I can also use a tweezer and just pick this one right up and stick it right there. And I don't know if you can see up here, there's actually one that's upside down. So I can pop it with the tweezer. Sometimes you can just flip it. There it goes and push it right on in. Then our hot fix transfer tape. Let's try this again. Did I just shake all those at the bottom? I did.
You hear me, Chris?
I can now.
Okay. I just been quiet. I just wanted to make sure you can hear me.
Yep. And I'm going to rub this in. I know these flip down here because I touched the tray, but I'm going to show you this real quick because I already have one that is perfect. And I would have gone back and flipped those all over again. But when you peel them up, all the rhinestones come up beautifully. The magnet template and slow to the back so the magnet stays on the tray. And then you can put it back on your template paper. There is the rhinestones ready to go. Now we need to do the applique shape. So here is our template again. And I use a double-sided fusible. My favorite is actually Steam and Seam Light 2. And so I'm going to take my magnet, my template right here, and I've already drawn a little bit, and I'm going to trace around it all the way around. And you notice at the top, I wrote draw on this side. It's the side with the grid. There's already a nice little 1-inch grid on this. That's the side that the fusible automatically goes to first. All right, so I've got the outline there of my anchor, but I also like to put a hole right here for the rope. If you notice on this one, it has that. So what I do is trace where these rhinestones are, just little dots in it. So I know that this is where I'm going to cut my hole, right there. Now, I will take this to the iron and I will fuse this onto fabric. Before I do that, and I actually have them done, I want to show you some issues and some fabric choices you can do here. So you want to be able to really see these designs. This one shows up really well. This one on a print fabric, see how the design kind of got lost? My poor seahorse here is lost. And this one, it shows up better because it's a much darker fabric. But I tend to like it where it's much more plain. The fabric itself also needs to be more like a tone on tone or a plain fabric. If you do a busy print, like the seahorse, it gets lost. So here were some of my fabric choices. I've got red, which is going to look great on the portfolio right here. I have the light blue, which I did before, which was okay, but I think this is going to be more striking. And then these other choices, this blue would be nice. This one, it really doesn't show up well with the rhinestones. They just kind of blend in and it's got too much shimmer in it itself. So they really look best on a solid color or just a basic tone on tone. Too much print and you just lose the rhinestones. Okay then. So we have this. Our next step is to iron it wrong side. So it would be this side onto my fabric. And then I trimmed it and cut it out. Now, while you are cutting, if you want some different shapes, because the templates are meant for the rhinestones. They're not really meant to use as an applique. A good example that I have here is my gecko. I think he is awesome. A little lizard, but if you look at the template itself, let me show you on white. The tail is all filled in here. So I actually did the same thing. I draw little dots where this tail is, and then I took it off and I trimmed around so that the tail is now open. Can y'all see the difference? So you can custom do your designs. And I think that this tail looks so much better on my gecko than it would if I'd left the whole fabric there. So there's a lot of options there. And then if you notice too, this guy I put red eyes in instead of just the same color. Okay, so now I have my fusible. Let me grab my ironing board. And you also need a Teflon pressing sheet when you are using the steam-a-seam, the double-sided fusible webs, and the rhinestones. So there's my pressing sheet. Here's my ironing board. This is going to go, make sure that you peel off the backing paper. And when I use the steam-a-seam, I use the iron on it for about a second or two the first time. You really need to make sure that the fusible adheres to the fabric. If you do it too light or just your hand and rub it, it really doesn't adhere to the fabric well enough. But there's enough glue and stick on it that it will later adhere to the other side too. So I'm going to peel off the second steam-a-seam. The paper backing. I actually keep some of these templates too, like the gecko. I kept it so I knew where I had my cutouts. So I don't have to, I can use it for a future reference. So I'm going to put this exactly where I want it. And that can be wherever. And if I wanted to be perfectly straight, I could be. I think that's pretty good. And then my Teflon pressing sheet, an iron. Now on this, and you're supposed to press, not rub. When you rub, you could shift things. I press it a little bit because remember, we're going to put the rhinestones on. And the rhinestones need a 350 hot iron for about 50 seconds. So you're going to get more heat on this again later too. Do watch your fabrics. I have actually touched the cork once with the iron. And you could see it start to crinkle up but it goes through this heat setting. As long as it's got the Teflon pressing sheet, it's just fine. So that's our first. That one's fused.
Hey, Chris, a
Yes.
question for you. How
Sure.
long are you ironing it for and what temperature?
I have the hot iron. Mine, it goes about 350, and that was just a couple seconds.
Okay.
Just enough to
Okay,
get
so
it
it
to
doesn't take
set.
long at all to heat that down.
Correct. But remember, we are going to put the rhinestones back on it. So we're going to set it again for another 50 seconds on 350. So we're actually heating this twice. So the first round does not have to be on for that long, just enough to stick it on.
Okay.
All right. I have tried to actually put the rhinestones on first and then this, but it's much easier to put the fabric applique down first than the rhinestones.
And now, do you normally sew around the edges too, or do you do it without sewing around the edges?
I do a lot without sewing around the edges. However, I have sewn around the edges. The gecko, this is a quilted portfolio, and I did top stitch around the edges here. I also, this was that tote bag. There are my applique palm trees and my sailboat and my flamingos, and these have all been top stitched, just a straight stitch, 2.0 stitch length right at the edge. And really just for technique, and this is a tote bag. It's really going to get some wear and tear. But the fusible web stays on its own too. All right, now with the anchor, I have my rhinestones all set ready to go. So I'm going to peel off the backing paper. And I'm going to lay this where I want it. And you know what? That's not where I want it. But if you watch, this hot fix tape is awesome. The rhinestones stay on it. So we can place this exactly where I want it. And I can line it up. See how I cut my little hole? When I did that, I actually folded. Let me show you this. When it had the fabric on it, I folded it in half and then was able to cut out that tiny little circle. And actually mine is kind of like a diamond, but it looks just fine. So there we go. We've laid that down. Now this is definite part where you need your Teflon pressing sheet. And my iron, mine, it's a little bit older of an iron. So I do set it for 50 seconds. Somebody count for me. I'm using my phone as my recording. I can do it. And I need to leave it on for about 50 seconds. If you have a heat press or a Cricut, you can set it to 350 and your timing. And I think Dave uses his about 35 or 40 seconds. And see, I'm not moving it back and forth. I'm just holding it flat and straight. You want to get it so that the hot fix tape kind of starts to look wrinkly and a little wimpy. Let's see what we got. See how it's starting to wrinkle up a little bit here? I don't know if you can see. And it feels kind of hot to the touch. I'm going to go a little bit more. And if you don't get it the first time, you can always come back and do more. There we go. So this comes off. Now this is very hot. So give it a second, but see how it's wrinkling up and it's kind of wimpy? That means that it's melted the glue on the back of the rhinestones. Now give them a second to cool off so that they glue and adhere to my applique or to my piece. And then when I peel it off, same thing, corner to corner, and go slowly. Should you not have caught a rhinestone, you'll see it stuck to the hot fix tape and it won't stay down. There we go. And we've got it. Now this hot fix tape, I'm going to put it back on its backing sheet. And it doesn't matter which side it goes on. One side's got some like ridges on it. It really doesn't matter. But this is reusable anywhere from 5, maybe 10 times, depending on the fuzz or the lint that might come off your fabric, which would cause it to not stick anymore. But other than that, you can use these over and over again for a while. And there you go. We have got applique on our portfolio, and that's going to stay. The one I have, this one that I had done, I've been using this for about 1.5 years, and it's still good. Okay, so this flower is done a little bit differently. these are the templates. And here's this flower, this one, and the round one came out. So the round one's my center. This is my background, the red or the hot pink actually. And look at this. These are what I used for my leaves. See the right shape there? So I did the rhinestones on my hot fix tape. So there's my flower. And then what I'm going to do is just cut these apart. So there are my leaves to go on the shape. And then you can do the same thing. Trace this on your fabric and just cut it apart. So I got my leaf shape that way. So there's lots of different ways to use different pieces of this. I have also actually cut my magnets to make this size, but it's much easier or more economical to put the rhinestones on first and then cut the hot fix tape. That way you don't ruin your magnet and I still have a flower. The stem on this was just actually it wasn't even a bias cut. I just curved it and it already had the fusible web on it. And then of course this on these, because it is quilted, I actually did a zigzag. Can you see right there on the stem? And I did stitch around this also, mainly because I like it. I like the stitch. Satin stitch is a little bit harder on these. It tends to shred it and it really doesn't need it. I like to focus on the rhinestones. And there again is my gecko. I think he's a cool guy. So when I do work, this is one of my pieces that is going to be probably a wall hanging or a tote bag. And I will make lots of my palm trees. While I've got the stencil out, I have all the colors on the tray. It's very easy to make extras for later. And I also feel the difference in color. Let me show you one more sample. So let's see. I know this is a little hard to see. Let me make snowmen right side up. This is a Christmas table runner. And the reason I did this was not only to highlight the appliques, but to show you the difference. See, there's red stones. So here's red on red in the berries. And you can kind of see them. They glint a little bit. But look at what happens when you do like red on a different color. Or here's one of my Christmas balls, red on the yellow. See how much more it shows? There's a red on red. Okay, it glints. It's nice. But the red on the yellow really makes it pop. And then I also have some snowflakes here on the background. And of course, Mr. Snowman. And see the snow glints, but then on his hat, you can really see the difference. Let me show you the other side of this table runner. Comes all the way down. And this is why it's a table runner, because it's upside down. And here are the angels on the other side. So there's a lot of fun things and a lot of creativity you can do with these.